Welcome back to the Freedom Men's Podcast. We're so glad that you're here. I'm Sterling here with Kyle.
We're back.
We're back again. This is the 5th episode, and Father's Day is coming up really soon.
Yeah, and we've been consistent with this, Sterling. No one thought we were going to make it.
I wasn't sure if we
I
thought
heard
we were
people taking like wagers, right? They're only going to do 1 or 2. This is now our 5th podcast.
Yep, that's right. Yep. And 5 is, it takes a lot of kind of time to build some of this content. So 5, you feel like you're kind of getting a little bit of a rhythm and a groove. And I think today, I'm pretty excited about it. I am.
Hey, but before we jump into these things that you're talking about, I want to hear one of your good memories from your dad.
Okay.
When you were a kid.
Okay, yeah. Man, my dad was is incredible. But I think the best memory that I have was probably one that he would consider to be some of the worst. If he had to guess what I would think were good ones, he would say these were not them. But I loved working with my dad late at night. So he was a general contractor, and we would leave sometimes at 10 o'clock in the evening and work until 8 or 9 or 10 o'clock in the morning as a general contractor working on plazas or leasing places that he would kind of manage. And so we'd go and power wash sidewalks. And one time we broke up a bar fight that was in that plaza. Some guy was, getting curb stomped in the face by some people, and we came and kind of broke him up. And my dad ended up getting punched by one of them. All right. And it was just kind of this crazy memory and moment, but it was cool because him and I were doing this together, and I was in high school. I was like a junior or senior. And so, my dad, we just spent a lot of time in those moments, and we talked about life, talked about how to handle conflict, how to handle crazy people, how to handle ourselves, how to handle your own issues. And so it was just a good memory.
For you, that was just you and your dad, time spent alone.
Yeah, but it was hard work. And so he was probably thinking, my son doesn't love this because I was a teenager. And sometimes it'd be like, I'm sick of power washing, can we go do something else? But I look back on those moments and they were better than ever.
You didn't fully appreciate it in the moment, but now 20 years later,
no way,
you super much appreciate what you had with your dad.
It's tough. What about you? What about memory with your dad?
Yeah, I kind of dad the same way my dad did. We just do a lot of stuff, and my dad loved cowboying.
Okay.
He loved rodeos. He loved horses, and I did for a little while. I had the booty tight Wranglers and the starch shirts and the straw hats. And I remember going out with my dad, and he loved to ride horses. And we were riding across this pasture on a full sprint in our horses. And we just got this new horse. And the horse that I was on ended up in a full sprint, taking a straight left-hand turn on me. And I remember going over the head of that horse like Superman, hands and arms straight out flying. And I see my dad out of the corner of my eye. He's just riding along. And here I go Superman and just ate it. Oh. And I remember my dad pulling me up off the ground, getting mad at this horse that threw me off and saying, "That's all right, boy. You got to get back on that horse and let's keep riding." Yeah. What a huge lesson and what a great memory.
Yeah, it is. That's one of those because there was pain involved too. You flew off the horse. You'll never forget kind of the fear, I'm sure. Kind of figuring out, did I break anything when you were moving around on the ground thinking, am I okay? And then to have your dad just kind of this, I don't know, it just seems like the man thing to do.
Yeah.
Just pick your son up and go, just make it happen again. Just take that step again. That's cool.
Yeah,
man. I'm really excited about it. Well, today we're going to talk about these 3 different topics of kind of discipline as a father, being a model and an example for your kids, and some of the memories that you have. Making memories together. We already talked about the memories that you have. So kind of the first question that I wanted to kind of start with that we were talking about before is, what's something that you would like to change about yourself, but you don't think you can? This is kind of maybe the model part of it. Really, what are some things that you feel like you would love to model better for your family and be a better example, but you feel like you may not be living up to that standard that you
Yeah, it's easy. It's just basically what I said about my dad. I move so fast. In fact, one of our pastors here a couple of months ago said that his goal was to walk a little slower. When you walk a little slower, you're a little more approachable. Yeah. People have this more relaxed feel around you. But when you walk fast, you move fast, you're always doing something. Yeah. You seem to be a little less approachable. And for me, that's the way I am. I might be home, but I'm not sitting my fat butt on the couch. Yeah. I'm not just watching Netflix. I'm mowing the grass. I'm changing the bushes out. I'm doing some flowers. I'm on a bike ride or run, whatever that is. And so the way I've kind of fathered over the years is to bring my kids along with me.
Yeah.
Not to just let them stay home and play video games, but if I'm mowing the grass, you're edging or weed eating, right? If I'm mowing, you're sweeping. So we're working this thing together.
Yeah.
So I wasn't going to let my kids sit home and put Cheerios in their mouth and watch Dora the Explorer.
Right.
they're with me.
Right.
But the negative side to that is just constantly moving.
Yeah. Like you're never, even though they're with you, you're not just taking a moment to talk a whole lot, to really create that space to get to know each other on a different level.
Yeah, and just have the space to just sit.
Yeah.
You know, that's one thing that I wish I could change about myself. Doubt if it will ever change.
Well, that's maybe we get to that with this, in a few minutes. Of can we see some of this change? Do you think that this is something? What's a step that we can take for that?
I think when we're talking about being an example to model, Sterling, Proverbs 22:6 says, "Teach a youth the way he should go, and when he's old, he will not depart from it."
Yeah.
And so we take that from the side of, I'm going to model from a behavior side. I'm going to model with my mouth side. I'm going to model with my mind, my emotions, the way I love, I connect. My kids and your kids, they are constantly watching.
Yeah.
Whether you think so or not, they are constantly watching you. And that to me is a reminder, most of all, as we're talking about fathering, that's a reminder to me that I have got to live a life above reproach because someone's watching.
So I definitely agree with what you're saying.
Well, just a quick funny story on my daughter, Mallory. When she was a little baby, she was learning how to talk. She was pooping her pants all the time, right?
Sorry, Mallory.
And so I would always, when I changed her diaper, because a good dad does change diapers.
Come on, man, preach.
As I changed those diapers, I'd be like, "Oh, crap, this crap stinks," or whatever it is, right? And then one time when she was at her grandpa's house, he was changing her diaper, and she yelled out to him, "Oh, crap."
Because you would say that all the time.
Yeah, so she picked up me saying it, and so in that moment, I was like, "Oh."
Did they get upset at you for her knowing that? No, okay,
no,
I wasn't too conservative or anything.
They thought it was hilarious, but for me, it was a reminder, I got to watch my mouth.
Yeah.
Gotta watch it, because everything I say, they're going to copy.
Yes.
Yeah.
There's so many examples of that. But yes, I won't out my wife or I on that. I'd say for me, it's how quick I am to forgive. That's one thing I'd like to really make sure that I'm modeling very, very well.
Yep.
That in the moment, my reactions are not overboard. That I'm not just letting the frustration or the tension or kind of the surrounding circumstances of my life impact how I respond to my family.
Yeah.
And so I think that I could do an even better job. I think that that's so important to teach your kids to be patient, to be kind of thoughtful about how they're responding to people in every situation. And I think Ephesians 4 kind of is a great example of forgive others as Christ forgave you, be kind and compassionate to those around you, yada, yada. You think in your mind when you read that, it's easier said than done. But I think that really is the way to have some peace in your family. And your kids will respond to you differently because you're responding to them. And I think that psychology, that dynamic is so important. So for me, if there's something I could change, I'd say that's probably
That's good. Hey, let me ask you a question.
Yeah, go for it.
Do you feel the pressure of being like the dad, the father?
Oh, yeah.
Like everything rides on your shoulders.
Yes.
You're the man of the house. Like what we just read. This is on us to teach our kids the way to go. Do you feel that pressure?
Oh, yeah. And I'm definitely not the manliest of men. And I definitely feel like there's some compensation on my end as far as like, I'm going to have to teach my son how to play sports, and I love sports, but it's not like ingrained in me. It's not something I want to naturally just go out and teach you how to throw a football. It's like, but I'm going to want to compensate and make those intentional, efforts. And so I feel that pressure of like being a man by today's standards. But for me, the way that I choose to be a man, and I think is valuable, is really some emotional intelligence combined with don't let everything get to you. As an individual, as a human. My dad would always say to me, let things roll off you like a water off a duck's back. So teaching them how to kind of take the punches of life and still care for people is kind of my main focus for my kids. In fact, my son's name is Klein Gabriel Wilborn. And Klein, this is ridiculous that I named my son this, that Vanessa and I did, but Klein means small. And then Gabriel means, but the Lord is my strength.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of our mindset as like a couple, but me as a man, that like, I'm not about trying to project this manly image, but I do feel the pressure of that, that it's really, for me, the Lord is our strength. We are nothing. I am small. My family, we're living our life in the corner of the world. And I know this is going long, but man, I feel that pressure. Do you?
Yeah,
you're very different than me.
And here's the way I deal with it. I deal with that pressure is at the end of the day, have I done everything I can to raise my kids, to point them to Jesus, to teach them about motor cars and lawnmowers and balls and games. Have I done everything I can? If I died today, I would have no regrets that I did everything I could to teach my kids about taxes and finances and investments. I did everything I could. And so I would let that pressure go, knowing that I've done the best that I can do.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I don't carry that pressure with me all the time. There's moments, but I don't carry that pressure all the time because I've done my best.
Good to hear that. So.
Well, let's look at this next question here. As we're talking about example and modeling. If someone else observed your fathering style, they put cameras on you, how do you think they'd describe the way you treat each member of your family?
Yeah. Well,
if there was a camera on you, what would they
Yeah.
say? How would they categorize? How would they sum it up in one sentence?
I think they see that there is a lot of intentionality, but more patience, slower to react a little bit when things are just really frustrating or you're tired or stressed. So probably slower.
Intentional.
Yeah, but he needs to slow down when it comes to reactions sometimes instead of trying to fix something or trying to, so good and bad.
So if they observe your fathering style, they say Sterling is intentional in everything he does.
Yeah, well, I know it sounds like I'm tooting my own horn. I'm not trying to, but it is. I really, really try.
Yeah.
I try harder with that than most other things.
Listen,
what about you?
I think for me, it's easy, and I've had people actually say this and tell me to tap the brakes on it a little bit. Is I'm too much Coach Kyle. Too much coaching, too much of that. And hey, there's sometimes you just need to stop and just be dad.
Yeah.
Just calm down and just love and encourage a little more instead of correct, instead of telling technique, instead of trying to show the way. Yeah. Just be a dad. Just encourage. So take the coach hat off and put the dad hat on.
Yeah, but you do encourage. When you encourage, you are very specific, very genuine, but you don't mince words. You say the thing that really is important and you just move on. You did this really well. Continue to do that.
Yeah.
And you did this well because of this, this, and this. Don't stop. And if you change, then you will fail in this way. Yeah. I mean, you do that with me as a staff member. You do that with everybody else. And your role is definitely more of the kind of leadership, like a father for me. And so it is interesting because you just have to pay more attention to you because you do it faster.
Yeah.
You do it a little just, efficiently, I think.
Yeah.
And that's, of course, obvious in a lot of ways.
That's good. Let's look at this next topic, which is huge: discipline. Discipline. How do we discipline our kids?
So why do you think that family conflict and issues that we have with disciplining and that kind of is sparked from conflict, why do you think family conflict feels more intense than conflict anywhere else in your life?
Well, because I think we see those people the most. And we have to, it's easy for me to come to work and chew out you as an employee. And we leave at 4:30
and it's gone.
And you're gone.
Yeah.
I don't have to deal with you the rest of the day.
Yes.
But in the house, you got to see them in the living room, the kitchen. You got to do that. And here's the biggest thing, especially in regards to our children, is we have the highest expectation for them.
Yeah, that's true too.
I may not have the highest expectation for you or Bryce or maybe someone else that's on staff, like a Joel. I've kind of already seen their lid and kind of know where their capacity's capped off.
That's true, yeah.
But with our kids, we all think we're biased.
Yeah.
We all think they can be the president.
They're the most genius.
They're the smartest, greatest thing ever, that they're going to get the highest score on their SATs, that they're going to make the PGA Tour, they're going to be the quarterback of the Patriots.
Yeah.
We think unlimited possibilities with our kids. So when it comes to conflict, we feel like it's capping off their limits.
Yeah.
And that makes it hard.
Definitely agree with you on that one. Yeah. The closer you are to someone, I think the more opportunity there is for conflict. And you're not closer to anyone really as far as the amount of time that you spend with them for the most part, unless you travel, but with your family. You're in proximity more with them than anybody else.
And because of that proximity, we know how to push buttons.
Yeah.
So I don't really know all of your buttons to push.
No.
But I do know my wife's. I know my son's. I know what I can do to my son right now and make him cry.
Right. And
my daughter, I can bring that out in her.
Yeah.
So conflict's more intense because we know where the jugular is.
Yeah.
Right?
It's messed up, but it's true. It's 100% true. And I had one more thought with that too. You don't get to choose your family.
It's true.
You get to choose a lot of, like, if your job is just awful, maybe in a year or two or in, a day or two, you'll be out of there.
There's so much invested.
Yeah.
There's so much promise and hope. And then here's the kind of last thought on this. I actually love this question because for me, when you live with somebody, you see their patterns, you see their day-to-day weaknesses.
Yes.
And so when those things are called out, people feel attacked. You haven't brushed your teeth all week. You haven't picked up your clothes, right? You haven't done these things. And so for you, someone I work with, I don't see those patterns.
Yeah.
I don't see your day-to-day hidden life.
No. You don't.
And so for us, you attack the weakness.
Yeah.
Ooh, people get mad and upset.
Yeah.
But we're talking about conflict. We're talking about discipline. We all heard this a million times. Proverbs 13:24 says, the one who will not use the rod hates his son.
Yeah. It's tough.
But the one who loves him, discipline him diligently. So it speaks to conflict is necessary. Discipline. This is what God says.
Yeah.
Discipline's necessary. It doesn't mean you beat your kid
Right.
upside the head.
There's a line, yeah.
But there are multiple ways you can discipline and correct and bring the rod to their life. It doesn't mean you're pounding them upside the head with a broom handle.
Yeah.
But it does mean there has to be discipline. And we're staring at a generation right now that's in front of us that have not been disciplined.
Yeah.
They're entitled. They are taking the easy way out. They've gotten participation trophies their whole life, and they've never truly been faced with adversity.
Yeah.
Because adversity has been ripped away from them.
Yeah. Do you think that pendulum is swinging for this next year? Okay. So we were even mentioning this, talking about this earlier while we were working on something up here. Gen Z is from 1997 to 2012. So anyone who is, newly born to 10 years old is now what has been kind of nicknamed Generation Alpha. Do you think that because millennials and Gen Z were given so many participation trophies, do you kind of get the feeling that we have heard so many jokes and criticisms about participation trophies and lack of discipline and all of these things that maybe millennials are swinging that pendulum and Generation Alpha, the kids that are 10 years old and younger right now, may not be getting those things? Like,
I hope so, but from what I've seen, no.
Really?
Yeah, no. I hope so, and I think that it could auto-correct itself.
Yeah.
But from what I've seen, and just my limited data, and I won't tell you where that limited data comes from.
It comes from all of you.
But I say no.
Yeah, I get that. I feel like I have in my life though. Like I don't want my kids to get if he gets something, I'm gonna be like, well, that's nice, but that's not the goal, right? Okay.
Yep.
What do you want to do? You want to move on to this next question?
Well, I think there was another really good, important question when it comes to discipline. How do you want your family to respond when you mess up? So we're the dads. We distribute all of this punishment when people mess up. But we all know that we're just as sick and twisted as they are.
Yeah.
We make the mistakes.
Yeah.
So how do we want them, and then how should we respond to our own discipline?
Yes, complete and total obedience and submission. That's all I want. No, I'm just kidding. No, I with a lot of grace, with a lot of understanding of the situations, the circumstances, but also with a certain standard and expectation. I think that it's important for your family to have a standard of you too. Of you as a father, as the leader, that your wife has a certain standard of you, so that she can have some accountability. I know that may be different, a different answer than what this question kind of begs normally, but I want my family to not shy away from me. I don't want them to feel like I am this iron fist, that they can't give me honest feedback and fair criticism of me. But fair is an important word. I think every employee needs fair, honest, and accurate feedback from their boss. And so I guess that's a different answer.
Yeah.
What about you?
I just think for especially my house, we are so competitive, and competitive even sometimes with each other, competitive with what we do, that we've had to learn to laugh at each other.
That's true, yeah.
To laugh. And we joke, and this is a big joke in my house, that my family sometimes will gang up on me, and I like it. It's fun.
Yeah.
And I say, hey, you guys have just strung me up like a piñata. I got your baseball bats out, and you're just going to town on me, knocking all the candy out of my behind, right?
Yeah, right.
And I say that jokingly.
Oh my gosh,
and
that's
I
funny.
say it also because I like it, because we've got to be able to laugh at ourselves.
Yeah.
So there are certain things that we all do that we know to need to get better.
Yeah.
And it's kind of fun to pick on each other in a laughing way.
Yeah.
And see those things. But my kids, at the end of the day, they need to see me repent. They need to see that I know my own blind spots and weaknesses, and they need to see when I get punished and disciplined as well. And honestly, there are times that I get in trouble here at Freedom, that I go home and I tell my kids, Dad did something wrong. Dad made a mistake, and here's the way I corrected it. So for me, it's living life as an open book.
Yeah.
And making sure other people see that I'm not invincible, that I do make mistakes. And that's even in my own kids.
Yeah.
And even apologizing to them. There's been times I wore Tyson's butt out on the golf course and I crossed the line.
Yeah.
I crossed the line. But hours later, after it's over, I come back with tears in my eyes and say, son, I'm sorry.
Yeah. You mean both, not necessarily physically.
No.
But like verbally, mentally, emotionally, with his drive, with his passion. Like, I'm wearing you out because you don't want to do this. You're giving up because you're discouraged. But I'm going to keep pushing you and saying, stop being such a bum. Stop being such a wuss. Get out there and keep going. Stop letting your emotions get the best of you and kind of wearing them out. Yeah,
and I crossed the line and then I have to come back and apologize.
Yeah.
So I've got to be disciplined.
That's good, man.
I got to be disciplined the same way they're disciplined.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on to the
last
last topic.
That's good because my dad did that with me too. And I'm so grateful that you said laughing because I think that's so important. And I get too serious. So I need people like you in my life, the sanguines, the outgoing ones to have fun. So
you got to laugh at yourself.
Who's someone in your life that sees potential in you? How when they did see potential, maybe it's in the past, what does it do to you when they invest in you? How does it really make you feel and think and act?
Well, I just told this story the other day, and in true investment sometimes is not immediately seen. So I told this story the other day about my youth pastor growing up. I was this punk little white trash kid.
Right.
My parents didn't take me to church every Sunday. So there were oftentimes I needed to hitch a ride. There were times that I would go out with the youth group for pizza after service. And you know who took me home? It was my youth pastor.
Yeah.
You know who picked me up? My youth pastor. You know who was there beside me? My youth pastor. And he was somebody at a young age that invested in me. And I don't know if it was just because I was loud and obnoxious and he kind of liked the clown side of me. But for whatever reason, this guy invested into me. And look at the return on investment.
I know.
I mean, what God has done in my life and my ministry, and to be sitting here at Freedom Church and being an executive pastor at such an amazing church, that youth pastor had to have seen something in me, but the payoff wasn't for decades later.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so I think sometimes you say, who's invested in you most? Sometimes we don't even see it until you're removed from the situation.
Yeah. Thinking about fathering, thinking about being an example and making an impact on your kids, making memories, making a difference in their life, investing in them, seeing the potential in them, like you said, you want the best for them, is one of the most important things that we can do as men, especially for this next generation.
Well, and the advancement or the investment in the time spent with them has got to go back to like what Deuteronomy 6 says. You've got to sit down. You've got to teach your kids. You got to talk about the word of God. Yeah. You've got to walk alongside them. You got to lie down. You got to get up. You got to bind them around your neck. That's what Deuteronomy 6 says. Yeah. But the investment even in our kids is going back to my youth pastor. It's not going to be seen right now.
Yeah.
In us guys, we are instant gratification people.
Yeah.
We want it now,
yeah.
right? And you don't often see that with your own kids. My kids right now don't appreciate me walking them through how to do a checkbook and how to walk through credit cards and investments. They don't understand. But in 15 years, they're going to appreciate what dad did. Yeah. My son doesn't right now really appreciate me going and getting him to pull off the bushes and take them to the curb and make these little stacks so that the trash man can come pick him up. But he will one day.
Yeah. Instead of just letting him do whatever he wants all the time.
But us men, we get frustrated because we don't see the immediate gratitude in the kid's heart. And we say, oh, it's easier for them to just go play your game. If you don't want to be here, because I fought that. Just go play your game and do your thing. And do Dungeons and Dragons or Pokemon or whatever you're doing, right? Just go do that. And then you lose a moment with your kid of making a memory and an investment that will pay off. Listen, the Bible says it will pay off. You might not see it in the next 3 weeks, but it will pay off.
Yeah. That is really good.
And so for me, I'm all about making memories. I want that time spent. I want them to remember the time we went fishing, the time we went skiing, the time we went to the beach, the time that I took you down and you helped me pray for someone at the hospital, the time that we went and did something spiritual together. We went to that camp meeting, whatever those things were. Time spent as a father for me is huge.
Yeah, the time that you spent praying in front of your family.
Yep.
Well, I mean, it doesn't happen all that time. And my dad is and was a pastor. And it doesn't happen all the time. You don't see that. But in crucial moments, when we needed a recharge of faith, when we were kind of losing it, when our house was going into foreclosure, when we weren't sure if we were going to be able to pay the bills, I mean, really hard things. When my dad would sit down and pray and ask the Lord for a miracle, and the Lord would deliver a miracle through groceries on our front porch with the most random, unbelievable timing of things. Those are the investments of faith. When I saw him argue with my mom in a healthy way, when I saw him engage in conflict, instead of always, and I say this, I do a lot of premarital counseling, and this is a big part of it, Do you always fight with your wife behind closed doors? Or do you sometimes allow your kids to see the conflict?
Yes.
So that they know their tendencies when they start to think back and they're getting married. Do they know their tendencies? Do they know how you would forgive how you wouldn't leave and slam the door and run away from the conflict when you were mad, but stayed there and cared about your mom enough, their mom enough? Like, I know this is so much, but that investment and really, I think changing the way that you are a dad as far as setting that example is huge in those ways that just are so important.
Yeah.
So.
Well, hey, go ahead and close us out here. We're up against the time.
Yeah.
But I just want to say to every dad out there, every father, happy Father's Day, first of all. And second, thank you for giving it your best. God sees it. He knows it. And at the end of the day, he's working harder than you are. Yeah. He's just wanting us to do our part. And when we do our part, God steps in and he loves our kids, our sons and daughters, way more than we do. He's got a plan for them. All we're doing is offering up our kids on a little platter and saying, God, here they are. Do it, do it, do it. Now, all you dads out there, you're doing a great job. Yeah. Keep it up. Stay faithful to church. Stay faithful to your wife, and your kids will see it. And you're sowing seeds right now that'll last a lifetime.
You are sowing seeds, man.
You're doing it.
That's good. That's
we got some good men in this church, don't we, Sterling?
We have some of the greatest men in this church. I mean that wholeheartedly, and I say that sometimes from the platform, but man, I believe it.
Yeah.
We've got guys that care about other people in ways that most men don't, and I'm grateful that you guys are really some of the leaders for even guys like me, this next generation, where we're learning how to be dads, we're learning how to be men. I need guys that look at me and go, hey, man, you should make sure that you're really making sure you're working out, being healthy. How is your wife doing? So you guys, you do a great job. Thank you.
That's good. Well, get us out of here.
All right. Well, hey, let me pray and then we'll just kind of wrap up like that. Okay. So Lord, I thank you for these guys. I thank you for their lives. And I just pray that you show us how we should be reacting to you in times of conflict and times of trials and our family. Everybody around us, the people that we're leading and being an example to, God, I just pray that we can be the right example, the way that you would have us to live and act. And so, God, I just thank you so much for the lives that you've put in our paths and the examples that we have, and let us draw from that. And as Hebrews 13 says, as Pastor Kyle sometimes refers back to, let us pay attention to our leaders, pay attention to the outcome of their life, but learn from their faith and decide if we want that same outcome for our lives. But God, use every ounce of their faith for our benefit so that we can grow closer to you and to others. And we thank you so much for what you're doing. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Thank you for being a part of this podcast with us today. And if you like the resources that are in the email, please go and check out those links. We hand pick resources for this topic every time, every month. And we make those great for you. And so we'd love for you to go and download those, subscribe online, like, comment, all the normal things. And we will see you guys next time.